Welcome back to Truth Be Told, where we explore the mysteries that haunt history and the people who still whisper through time. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and today we're turning back the clock to one of the most infamous murder mysteries in American history. A crime so brutal, so puzzling, it inspired a nursery rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. But did she really? Was Lizzie Borden a cold-blooded killer or a wrongly accused woman caught in a whirlwind of public scandal, gender bias, and twisted family secrets? Let's find out. It was a sweltering Thursday morning, August 4th. 1892 in Fall River, Massachusetts. A small industrial town, quiet, conservative, and very aware of class and appearances. Inside the Borden house at 92 2nd Street, chaos erupted. The maid, Bridget Sullivan, heard Lizzie scream, "Father's dead. Somebody's come in and killed him." Andrew Borden was lying on the parlor couch, his face brutally disfigured. A doctor later said one of his eyes had been split clean in two. Minutes later, Abby Borden, Lizzie's stepmother, was found upstairs face down in the guest bedroom, her skull caved in. 2 murders one morning. No sign of forced entry, no sounds of struggle, and barely any blood on Lizzie. The town was stunned. It didn't take long for fingers to point, and they landed squarely on Lizzie. To understand why, we have to understand the Borden household. Andrew Borden was a self-made man, extremely wealthy, but also extremely cheap. He refused to install indoor plumbing, forced his family to live below their means, despite being one of the richest men in town. Lizzie and her older sister, Emma, never got along with their stepmother, Abby. Lizzie had reportedly stopped calling her mother years earlier, replacing it with Mrs. Borden. There was tension, resentment, and, as we now know, motive. A week before the murders, Andrew had given property to Abby's family. Lizzie and Emma were furious. Soon after, both daughters stopped eating meals with their parents. Emma left town. Lizzie remained. Just 2 days before the murders, Lizzie reportedly visited a local pharmacy to buy prussic acid, a deadly poison. She claimed it was for cleaning a sealskin cape. The pharmacist refused the sale. Coincidence?
It wasn't just a dysfunctional family. Cows Taz Separ. And that week the fuse was lit.
So, what really happened that morning? Lizzie claimed she was in the barn loft looking for fishing sinkers, but investigators found no footprints in the dust. No signs anyone had been up there. The maid, Bridget, had been ordered to wash windows in the scorching heat. She was likely the last person to see Abby alive. No blood was found on Lizzie's clothes. Yet a few days later, she burned a dress. Why? She said it had paint on it. Police weren't convinced. Then there's the murder weapon, a hatchet found in the basement with its handle mysteriously broken off. The blade looked freshly cleaned. Yet still, there was no concrete evidence. Nothing that could prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The trial began in June 1893 and was instantly a media sensation. The courtroom was packed, Reporters swarmed the courthouse. Headlines screamed, "Murderess or martyr?" The prosecution focused on motive, inheritance, resentment, and Lizzie's odd behavior. They highlighted the burned dress, the inconsistent alibi, and her request for poison. But Lizzie's defense team had a different strategy, character, and class. They painted her as a devout, educated, church-going woman, incapable of such violence. They brought up her volunteer work, her genteel reputation, and most importantly, her gender. The jury couldn't fathom that a proper Victorian woman, much less a spinster daughter, could lift a hatchet and strike with such rage. That disbelief worked in her favor. After 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict: not guilty. Lizzie Borden was free. But, freedom didn't mean peace. Lizzie changed her name to Lizbeth. She bought this large home called Maplecroft in a wealthier part of Fall River. She hosted theater friends, she traveled, and, she lived a bit more freely. But honestly, she was shunned from church, from society. Even her own sister, Emma, left her for good after a rumored argument in 1905. Lizzie lived alone for the rest of her life. She died in 1927 at the age of 66, still infamous. And no one else was ever arrested. So here's the real question. If not Lizzie, then who? Theory 1. The maid did it. Bridget Sullivan, the maid, reportedly hated her job. That morning, she was ordered to clean windows in the blazing heat. It's possible she snapped, but she never cracked under questioning, never changed her story, and she left town shortly after the trial, never to return. Theory 2. Emma, Lizzie's older sister, was away, or was she? Some theorists believe she could have returned secretly, committed the murders, and then quietly slipped away. But there's no real evidence placing her at the scene. Theory 3. A stranger. Could someone have entered the house unnoticed? Maybe an enemy of Andrew Borden. Some say the murders look like retribution, especially Abby's, who received more blows. But no stranger was seen, no valuables were stolen, and the house was always locked from the inside. Every theory has holes. Every answer leads to more questions. Over 130 years later, the Lizzie Borden case still divides opinion. Maybe she did it and got away with murder. Maybe she didn't, and became a victim of a society unwilling to see women as complex, emotional beings capable of rage. Either way, tsaptai, Lizzie became a symbol of violence, of mystery, of a woman who refused to conform. She gave her mother 40 whacks, but perhaps the real crime is how quickly we decided we knew the truth. Thanks for listening to Truth Be Told. I'm Tony Sweet. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at The Club Paranormal, TikTok at Club Paranormal, and visit us at www.clubparanormal.com for more mind-bending mysteries. Until next time, stay curious and don't believe everything you think you know.